Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Spilled Popcorn, aka SP, where we spill the latest and greatest on today's currently streaming shows. The biggest stuff, the hottest stuff. Right now we're off to a wonderful start on episode 5 of 6 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, aka Tafatwas.
Tafatwas.
We're making that happen. We're making it happen because on Twitter, the hashtag is all over the place. They dropped the, but it still exists. So it's Tafatwas. You got to have that T in there. With me, my co-host, Mr. CW, Cam Wiggs.
What up?
And I am KD, your other co-host, aka Kirk Doolin. Can you believe it? We are here on episode 5 of 6.
I know, the penultimate episode. I mean, it feels like we hardly knew you, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean, it's been it's been a short ride, but a good one. And I'm all fired up and ready for episode 6.
Me too. I don't know why this one seems shorter. Technically,
It's probably pretty similar in terms of total runtime. At least I think so. Like, you know, with WandaVision, you got 9 episodes that were all around like 30-ish to 40-ish minutes. They kind of got longer as they went. And this one is like 6 hour long, well, not even an hour long episode, like 45-minute episodes. But then this one was an hour long. So I feel like it's got to be close. Right.
I just, the storylines, there was more to cover, I feel like, because we were in so many different locations for this versus WandaVision. In WandaVision, we were just in Westview, and here we're all over the map, flying different places and flashbacks and establishing the future. This feels like, to me, and let me know how you feel, Cam, as well. This feels to me like in the future, all of the little stuff they're putting in here is going to matter a lot. I feel like this is kind of our Age of Ultron TV series.
Yeah, I really thought it would be WandaVision, and I still think in some ways it will be WandaVision. I think they obviously at least laid the path in WandaVision for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, so we know that'll tie in there. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they are laying a lot down that's going to come back and matter. That's like small things that don't matter now, but that will in the future. So I totally agree.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. I want to get going real quick because we have an hour-long episode, not this, but from the show that we watched, called Truth, episode 5 of 6 of Tafatwas. Let's get into the unwrapping.
Yes. Let's do it.
Okay. I don't know that I can cover everything because, man, was it wild. So what I want to first talk about is right at the beginning. We last left our heroes and what would you call John Walker? Not necessarily a full-blown villain.
That's all I know. Not a hero.
I hear that. Yeah. So John Walker, as we discussed, just decapitated basically the guy's head in the previous episode.
He leaves work, he's on his way home. Wham! His kappa is detated from his head.
So now he immediately goes to hide out. He somehow gets away. He's in this giant warehouse. And of course, Bucky and Sam walk in. And they're pretty forgiving right out the gate. They say, hey, everyone makes mistakes. We got to fix this. You got to come with us. And John's like, what, are you arresting me? This ain't happening. So there's a big fight in that warehouse between John Walker, Sam, and Bucky. Pretty fantastic fight in which we see, of course, Sam's wings get ripped off of him in such a brutal way. What do you think about when you saw that, when he just like crunched those off of him?
Yeah, pretty intense fight. It was the fight we've all been waiting for, you know, and I think it was a fair fight, even though it was 2-on-1, because John Walker was just totally seeing red from the events of everything that's going on. And he's obviously recently souped up, so he was ready to go. But they finally end up getting the shield from the former Captain America by breaking his arm and basically ripping the shield away and taking him out. So it was an intense fight, a brutal fight, but one that we've been building to for the whole series, it seems like.
Yep. And they gave it to us right at the top of the episode, which is very different from any other kind of episodic show you might watch. They're just like, Here you go. There it is. And in the same note, it's kind of reflective of the beginning of Endgame when they just decapitate Thanos. So there's lots of things going on there, lots of different echoes. And in a little later scene, we actually see Falcon talking with Torres, and Torres is like, "Wait, you forgot your wings. You got to take these. This is your stuff." And Sam Wilson says, "Keep them," which of course verifies Mr. Camwig, CW, the theory that Torres will 100% carry the mantle of Falcon.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. That's what I'm hoping for, man.
I don't see it any other way. And dude, that actor, he's fantastic.
He's really good. He's really good. Yeah.
Forgotten his name, but he's a riot. I love him. He's got charisma, and he's got the humor down, and he's got the solid dramatic beats down. So this is going to be a great addition. And I think we'll see him in the big movies as well, right? So
I assume so. In any sort of like larger Avengers engagements, I'm assuming whatever's next for Sam Wilson, if he gets his own movie or something, I think we'll have a Joaquin Torres as Falcon sighting. That's my hope and my dream.
Super cool. Very cool. Very cool. So then we go back to John Walker for a little bit, and he has been pardoned by the powers that be. He has to stand trial. He loses it at trial. I kind of expected him to like break a table, but I think he was also trying to hold his cards. He doesn't want them to know that he's necessarily superhuman. He wants to just seem like he lost his cool and just took down, the Flag Smashers. So, and right after he's pardoned, which shouldn't have been, he is immediately greeted by this new character, someone who's been in the Marvel realm for a long time, played by Miss Julia Louis. Oh my gosh. Dreyfus. Elaine. Dreyfus. When you say her name with such concentration, it just loses it, and you're reading it, and there's the S, and there's the Julia Louis Dreyfus.
Yep.
What's her character name, Cam?
Her character name is, wait for it, Contessa Valentina Allegra de la Fontaine. Val is what they call her in the comics.
So you can just call me Val, but don't call me Val. Just keep it in your head.
So this was our big reveal, the one that we've been talking about for a while. We had been told by multiple, not us personally, but multiple people were saying that there was going to be a big character that shows up in episode 5 that's previously unleaked, that's an award-winning actor, and sure enough, all those things turned out to be true. I think we all sort of assumed that it would be a superhero, which is not what we got. So an interesting reveal, took me off guard, but I am a massive fan of Miss Dreyfus's work. I think she's fantastic. I love Julie Louis Dreyfus. I've loved her since Seinfeld. I think she's brilliant. So I am stoked. I am so fired up.
It's a big win. It's definitely a big win. It's what they're doing with these leaks about the cameos, and you gotta wait for this. It's a little frustrating. But this one, both of them were good reveals. We had Paul Bettany as Paul Bettany. And White Vision, and we have of course Miss Dreyfus as as Val.
This was a better payoff. This was at least a new character, and one that we'll get into it, but one that I think will have huge ramifications for the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward.
Excellent. So a couple other things that happened in the episode. We sneak in a little bit more with Sharon Carter, that she's probably the power broker. I mean, we see her for like 8 seconds in this episode, and she's like wheeling and dealing with other kind of bad guys. Then we get a big part of this episode is the Sam Wilson family narrative. The Sam Wilson African-American male in America and in society as a whole. We get to see him return to speak with Isaiah, the other superhuman who was tested on, arrested and held against his will. He wanted to break free. He eventually did. And then he found someone who could find a way to make him be dead on the books. So Isaiah is continuously just ramping up in importance in this series. And man, I don't know how he continues to break into the bigger MCU, but I can't imagine you let an actor like Carl Lumbly come into this and then not extend him. Do you think he'll extend into the films, Cam?
I think he'll be around because I think Eli will be around. As previously discussed, I think his grandson will take on significant importance later. So I think we'll get to see Isaiah at least one more time, and maybe he becomes a mentor of sorts for Sam as in his journey to become Captain America. It's hard to know, but what he brought to this episode, his monologue was fantastic, and he was great. I just thought he was fantastic. So, round of applause for Mr. Lumbee. I thought he just awesome.
Yeah, and remind me, what Eli, what superhero do we presume he takes the mantle of?
Patriot,
Patriot.
who is a young Avenger.
Yeah.
So, that's my. I want the Young Avengers so bad. If I were to bet on anything as a sure thing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward, it would be that we're getting the Young Avengers, and the fact that they went out of their way to name this character Eli, or Elijah, whatever you want to call him. I just think he's got to be in the future plans.
Excellent. I love it. I think that's right on point here. We also, in this narrative of identity and struggle, specifically with Sam, we spend a lot of time on this. And again, this is something that the MCU has not done yet, is to bring real, deep impact narratives that's actually happening in society now. So with WandaVision, we had mental health. With Tafatwas, we get the plight of the black man in America and in society as a whole, which is huge. Both of them are huge. This one carries a heavy weight. In the midst of all of that, they throw Bucky and Sam's sister, Sarah. They throw this random romance into it. It's a weird subplot for me. I don't know how the general public treats it, but regardless, it's happening and it's in there. I'm a big fan of the big conversation. This, I don't know. It's kind of weird. What do you think, Cam?
Well, I doubt it lives on past the series. I think it's just like a funny, little flirty thing that they threw in to kind of keep the fire between, because Sam and Bucky are getting a little more friendly now,
Chummy.
But they had to keep that. They have to give their relationship a little bit of an edge because that's where the sparks come from with those guys.
That's right. That's right. Can you move your seat up? No, I hate you. One of the greatest quips.
It's so good.
Amazing. So they end up, working on this boat multiple times through the episode. We see that it all comes together. They rally the community in financing and in support and in labor, and they get this boat on its feet. Which is a big deal for the family, for the Wilson family. And they're getting ready to sell the boat. And ultimately, Sarah and Sam decide not to. We get a beautiful, fantastic montage in this episode of Sam actually saying, I'm in. He's practicing throwing the shield. And ultimately, he just comes down after he speaks with Isaiah to really be ready to take on the mantle of Captain America. So whether he'll be called Captain America or not, that has been yet to be seen or foretold. But at the end of this episode, he opens a mysterious large case, which looks to be his new costume. And immediately following that, we get a mid-credits scene of John Walker creating what seems to be his own version of Captain America, as he has said multiple times. And in the courtroom, I am Captain America. It's wild. How do you feel about Mr. John Walker getting that suit together? What do you think, man?
I don't know. I was trying to remember. There is in the comics, there is a green Captain America looking guy who's Captain America with Hydra armor. There's a Hydra version of Captain America. And so I was the shield that John Walker's building appears to be red, white, and blue. And so he's basically just trying to be no, I am Captain America. I'll just do this on my own. But I don't know exactly where they're going for that, but he definitely still feels he owns the mantle and he's ready to fight for it.
Excellent. Well, let's get into the butter. We're going to talk about a little bit more of that in the butter and in the crumbs here. So let's get down to something that was huge that just brought sparks to my heart. The shield throwing training. They have these mats against these massive trees. They're bouncing it. It's just it's almost like racquetball with Bucky and Sam just throwing it, having deep conversations as bros in the forest, and they're just going at it. What did it mean to you to see them basically playing catch with the shield that stands for justice.
Yeah, well, I feel like this is something they showed in the promo material actually for the show early on, like in the trailers and stuff. There were these scenes that of Sam and Bucky throwing the shield, like training and things like that. And I have been kind of wondering, I'll show them, like, we haven't seen this yet, so they must get the shield back at some point. But it was cool. It was cool to see Sam using the shield, no wings, no superpowers, just old school, going for it. And I loved the real talk that they were having between Bucky and Sam, and how, Sam kind of called Bucky out on some stuff and Bucky kind of challenged Sam on some stuff. I think overall the purpose of this episode was to show us that Sam Wilson can be Captain America. Yeah. Because there had to be a reason internally that he turned down the shield, and they checked all the boxes. It's like, okay, he's got to train up. Okay, he's got it. He's got to deal with his stuff at home, which he did, and Bucky helped him do that, which was awesome. He's got to deal with, the Isaiah Bradley thing, and like, how can he ever even be Captain America after everything that Isaiah Bradley went through? And, the fact that they basically didn't want Sam Wilson to be Captain America because he's a black guy. Like, they had to check all those boxes before Sam could finally take the mantle. And now they've gotten all that out of the way, and we're ready to, coronate our new Captain America. So it's very exciting.
Excellent. I love that you said that you brought up about how, that they didn't want Isaiah to be the Captain America. He would have been the obvious choice. He was available. Captain America was frozen. Bucky was MIA, and he was the Winter Soldier and being frozen, unfrozen, and just carrying on. Something that when Endgame ended, we actually got that in real time. People were mad that it was going to Sam Wilson, not just because they wanted Bucky to get it because Bucky was the original best friend, but because Sam Wilson, because Anthony Mackie is black. So art imitates life and life imitates art. That's so deep that they were just
it's pretty meta.
Front and center. They're like, listen, this whole storyline is going to establish like, you can just be mad or have hate in your heart, but why do you have that? Why are you? What's the reason? And you really need to look deeper inside yourself and understand that there's zero reason for you to be upset about this move, about this narrative, and it's a really powerful storyline of the success and where we should be going. So I thought that was really cool. Again, the Isaiah Sam relationship is huge. That montage is so great when he's training up. Do you know, like, can Anthony Mackie all do those flips? Were those him?
It looked like him. It didn't look like a stunt double. I mean, you could see his face the whole time. I mean, he's always been pretty well in shape. He's been in a lot of action movies and things like that. So yeah, I wouldn't be super surprised. They could have had him tied up on wires. Like, let's be honest, they could have done that. But it did look legit.
Even if he was on wires, man, he's always giving Tom Holland crap. Like, they're always like, nudging each other, ribbing each other. But I mean, Tom Holland, we know, can like do all these crazy flips. It's all over his Instagram and behind the scenes of Spider-Man. But I think Anthony Mackie, he talks trash to him because he can hold his own so much. Because
it could be
him flipping all over the place, catching the shield and dodging the shield when he missed it, and it's like going to like destroy his house behind him. It blew my mind. That stunt work was incredible.
It was really cool. And one last thing on Sam Wilson that I think is important for his arc as Captain America.
Yeah,
Isaiah Bradley did not give his blessing. He didn't say, go be Captain America. He actually said no self-respecting black man would ever pick up that shield. And so I think that's a really important piece of character development that Sam, he even acknowledges it when he's talking to Sarah and to Bucky. He's like, I know what Isaiah said, but it's time for me to do this. He understands what happened, but he's like, if we're ever going to move forward, it's time for me to do this. So I think that's a really interesting piece too.
Right. So he's trying to bridge the gap, right, of the hatred that was then and still is present now, and he's trying to just stand up to it, which how admirable and honorable. So it's going to be great. The last thing I want to talk about that I didn't talk about in the unwrapping is about Zemo. he comes and he's kind of tricked to come up and meet with Bucky, and Bucky basically he's trying to like team up with him and try to run like a side mission underneath to just do whatever they want because they're both so powerful, and so Zemo has connections and he's a mastermind, and of course Bucky is a trained character wired to do that, and he can bring that up at any time, and ultimately we see Bucky ready to blast his head off, and then just nothing, drops the bullets, nothing. And then, of course, the Dora Milaje comes in and just arrests him and takes him to Wakanda. So cool. Such a fun scene. In a weird way, I mean, they wasted that guy in last episode. I was like, maybe they just kill Zemo. I don't know. But he's too big to kill. Like, we need to see more of him, whether he breaks out of Wakanda or he becomes an evil consultant for something in the future. Zemo is arrested. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think something to point out here is Zemo has been one step ahead of everything this whole time. He has known what the next move is, and in fact, when he's at the Sokovian Memorial and Bucky shows up, he even makes a point to say, "I thought you'd be here sooner." He's played this whole thing out, and so that makes what happens to be even more surprising because he had no escape plan. He knew that Bucky was going to show up, presumably to kill him. Bucky opts not to, which shows his growth as a person. And instead, he's turned over to the Dora Milaje. And so Zemo, I think, gave himself up. I think he was ready for this and was tired of being on the run. And maybe feels guilty for his involvement in the death of King T'Chaka. I don't know. It paints a pretty interesting storyline for Zemo and makes me think that we definitely haven't seen the last of him.
Right. The question is, does he want to just chill for a while, let things die down, and then bust out of that prison too? It's something we know he's very good at. And
well, we'll get into it in the crumbs. I have some thoughts for sure.
Beautiful. Well, let's get there right now. Let's talk about the crumbs. Let's go straight into Zemo. Why waste another moment on it?
Yeah.
So is he going to break out of Wakanda? Is he going to sit for most of Phase 4 and then at the end just come back at us? What do you think?
So what Io says as they're hauling him away, she says he'll live out the rest of his days at the Raft. So they're taking him to the Raft, which is a famed prison in Marvel lore, and it has already made an appearance in the MCU. If you remember, in Civil War, they took Bucky and Sam and Ant-Man. They took all those guys to the Raft under the supervision of General Thunderbolt Ross. And the reason that that's interesting is there is a superhero team of reformed supervillains called the Thunderbolts in the comics. It's a very popular supergroup. It starts out as the Masters of Evil, sort of like pretending to be heroes while the Avengers and Fantastic Four are out of play, but then they sort of like it. And so it ends up being like this Suicide Squad type thing where, it's all these former villains who end up being superheroes. And one of them is Baron Zemo. He's one of the founding members. And one of them is Red Hulk or General Thunderbolt Ross. So the fact that General Ross is still in the picture, he's been here since that 2008 Incredible Hulk movie starring Ed Norton, and we've got Baron Zemo there at the Raft, presumably, together. And Baron Zemo seems to be on the mend a little bit towards perhaps redemption. Maybe he gets out on good behavior and starts a super team. I think that could be a really interesting plot line. And Marvel's so smart because they lay seeds for every possible scenario, and so I think they could just as easily go with that or not, and it just be like little nuggets for the fans. But I think that's a definite possibility, and I think that they're laying other seeds that sort of allude to it.
That is strong. I love that because Baron Zemo has broken out of, as we've seen on screen, twice. But yeah, for the third time to be at the behest of the government, especially of Wakanda, right? That would be pretty powerful. So I like that a lot. I like it a lot, man.
Could be cool. Next thing, we got to talk about our big new character, right? We got to talk about Val.
Yes.
This is an interesting one, man. This is, when they talk about adding a new character, you're always curious about who it can be. And in comic book in the comic book realm, there's so many possible characters, and that's why you can just go on and on. We all took the bait and went the superhero route. Of course, they decided to zig while we zagged, and we get Val. And Val is a really interesting person for a lot of reasons. She, like a lot of the new characters that they're introducing, really blurs the line between good and bad. She starts out in the comics as a shield agent, high security clearance, like big dog, right up there with Nick Fury. And in fact, her and Nick Fury actually have a romantic relationship in the comics for quite some time. But then she flips the script so many times. She becomes a member of Hydra, but then she actually betrays Hydra to Leviathan, which is another covert ops organization. She it turns out she's like an agent for Russia at some, like a sleeper agent in the same way that like Black Widow was supposed to be at some point. And the rumor is that she's going to appear in Black Widow, and that was actually the first time that we were going to see her was going to be in Black Widow and not in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So whether they keep that scene, who knows? Maybe it hits the cutting room floor now that the order has been switched up, but she was supposed to appear in Black Widow first. She actually filmed for that. So what I think is going to happen with Val, they could go a number of different ways. She never plays like what I would consider a massive role in the comics, but what I think they're kind of having her do here by the looks of it and by her interaction with John Walker is to kind of be the evil Nick Fury, I guess. It sure seems like she's assembling a team of some sorts. And with that in mind, it makes you wonder if her involvement in Black Widow comes at the end, and maybe she's working with Yelena Belova, who is going to be played by Florence Pugh, who we've talked about before, definitely also blurs that line between good and bad. And so if Val is building a super team of evil people, maybe it's John Walker, Yelena Belova, etc., and she is going to be the Nick Fury, the point man on that job.
I love this. I love this so much. Do we have a confirmed Fury TV series as well?
Yes.
Boom.
We do.
There's so many opportunities to intertwine all of this. I love a love story between them. We get flashback. Obviously, we have the technology to make Nick Fury young again. So that would be fantastic. We have obviously the Avengers. We have the evil but reformed super team that Zemo can create. And then we have the evil team that Val is going to be creating. So now we have all of these different teams intermixed, because when you think about it, we have all these big bads and they all went down because they all had like armies or small armies or big armies in the case of Thanos, but they couldn't hold their own against the Avengers anytime because they were a team. So now they're learning in the MCU and they're like, wait, we need a super evil team if they've got a super good guy team. So that I love this. I love this so much. What do you think about John Walker? Can he make it out of this series alive? I desperately need him to, because Wyatt Russell, what a gem, because he's been in some his introduction and debut into film was good, but it wasn't grand. He was in 22 Jump Street. I think that was his biggest film at that point. He was in this, and maybe still be in this kind of strange, weird show on FX where there's a cabin and a secret society of like a fraternity or something, which I haven't seen. But then you have this where it's like, holy cow, he's not holding back. Do you see John Walker going forward outside of this series?
Yeah, I definitely do. I think John Walker is going to survive. I think they've built a good character here. I think it's an intriguing character and one that is not past the point of redemption in some way. He made a mistake and it was a big one. But you kind of get where he's coming from, and even his speech that he gives in front of, I don't know, it's probably some sort of committee in Congress or something like that, where he's giving his little speech about, I did everything you asked me to do. You kind of feel for the guy a little bit. So I definitely don't think he's past the point of redemption, but I think he's just way too interesting a character to not leave out or to not include going forward. But the direction that we're heading in, it seems like for episode 6 is that, so we've got the Global Repatriation Council, the GRC, are meeting to vote on this thing that would make everybody go back to their original countries. They would bring troops in. All these refugees would go back to where they came from, and life would return to normal pre-blip. The Flag Smashers infiltrated. They're shutting that down. Sam knows that this is going down because Torres called it in and was like, hey, we think the Flag Smashers are going to hit in New York. Sam's cracking open his new suit, which we have not seen yet. It's from the Wakandans. Bucky dropped it off. And John Walker's getting his suit ready. Now, the reason John Walker's getting back into the action, I think, is because when he talked to Lamar Hoskins' family, they asked him, is this the guy who killed him? And he's like, yeah, I would never let that person get away. But we know that it's not, and John Walker knows that it's not the guy who killed him, and that his business is really with Carly Morgenthau. And so he's going to finish what he started, and he feels it's his duty to take her out. I don't know if she will be taken out, but he's going to have to deal with Batroc too, because as we saw, Sharon Carter called him in to help out the Flag Smashers. And so that's the conflict that we're heading toward, and it's going to be big in episode 6. But I do think that your wish will be granted, Kirk, and our John Walker will live on and survive to move on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I need him to. He's too good of a property to lose. I mean, we've gone through so many fantastic actors that get killed off at the end of their film, and I just got to see John Walker get at least one more appearance. That's all I want. Please, Feige, please, if you're listening, I would just like Wyatt Russell to continue on in one more instance of this, and Carl Lumbly. Please, I need them both.
Let's hope for it. Should we speculate about the color scheme and layout of the new Captain America suit that Falcon's going to be sporting in the next episode?
Dude, I don't even know, because like thinking about Scarlet Witch's new costume,
I know
it was baller.
Really cool. So I think we're going no wings. And the reason I think we're going no wings is because they have the scene with Torres where he's like, keep the wings. And when he's training no wings. Now, in the comics, when he's Captain America, he also has wings sometimes, and sometimes he doesn't. But I think we're going to go full no wings, and it's going to be a straight up Captain America suit. Now, in the comics, he has this, what I think is kind of a goofy looking costume that is like silver, you know, and it has like a little headband as a piece of it, and it's like silver and blue and red. So what do you think we're going to get? Is this going to be like a more traditional Captain America suit, or do you think it will be more modern, more Wakandified, like silver, black, red, blue? I don't know. What are you thinking?
So when they peek that little case up, I saw red. I saw it.
Yeah.
I swear by it.
So maybe it's like largely red because Falcon's original color scheme is mostly red, and so that would be a familiar look for him. I'm wondering if we get the silver headband, dude. I don't know. But I know it's going to look very modern because everything that's come out of Wakanda has been modern. Like, think about the Black Panther outfits and obviously like Bucky's arm and some of the stuff that they've created. So I think it's going to look pretty slick. But I don't know exactly what it'll look for.
When you say like the headband, it's wrapping around his eyes, right?
His eyes, yeah. And it goes like down his face, but his hair like sticks out the top, right? Like it's not closed off.
So it can't kind of like this.
It goes like all
arc.
the way, yeah.
I could see it just going like straight, like almost like how Robin's eye mask
like
is.
just an
It's
eye
just
mask.
here, you know. But it would have to be functional as well. So since it's from Wakanda, there's obviously going to be some tech built into that.
Oh, for sure.
So whether that's just here or it's a full, I don't think it's a full helmet because you have to be different. You have to be able to, but it also has to be protective. So there's that too, you know? So I don't know. Is he going to have wings, like small, tiny wings, like just a little homage?
That would be
right?
cool. A little homage to the original. That would be cool. All I know is I was ticked that they left us with that cliffhanger. I was like, show us the suit. I was actually shocked because you know how Disney always there's like 8 minutes of credits at the end of every Disney Plus show. So I just thought there was more time in the show and we were for sure going to see the suit. And then when we didn't, I was like, oh man.
Man, I tell you, every one of these, I'm just going like just tiny scroll. I'm watching on my iPad mostly, and I'm like, come on, is it hidden?
For the
Is it
scene.
hidden there?
Yeah.
No, there was no post-credit scene. It was mid-credits only. Unless, did I miss it? Is there also
No,
a
there was
post-credit?
just mid credits, and it's just the little minor scene of John Walker putting his shield together. So,
And here's why I also see it as mostly red, because in the montage of Sam going through training, his shirt, he's in gray mostly as he's training and running, and then his sweater at the end of it is like a maroon. So that's why I think like this is it when he gets the best at what he's doing.
It's his color.
That's his color. So that'd be pretty cool. We'll see what happens though.
I'm excited.
We will see on episode 6 of Tafatwas, aka the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's Cam Wiggs. I'm Kirk Doolin. Listen to Rhetoric, the original music for this podcast / video series. We cannot wait to digest the finale with you. Any parting words, Cam?
Just get your popcorn ready for episode 6, man. It's going to be bumpy and awesome.
Amazing. We'll talk to you then.
Peace.